So writing a journal, what we'll talk about is first, like, why are we writing a journal paper? What's the point? When to write the paper? That's a really tough question to answer and important to talk about. Then there's the kind of more straightforward stuff, the writing process itself, how you structure the paper, what you should think about for grammar and style, formatting of the paper, who do we count as authors, and in what order do the authors go, and what's an author versus an acknowledgement, and that kind of thing. The review process and timelines that we'll see there, and then where you might think about publishing. So it's kind of broad. There's a lot of different topics we can talk through here. I hope as we go through it that you guys stop me so we can have discussion. So the first thing is, why write a paper? Like, if you asked Mike from 10 years ago why write a paper, I would probably say there's not a lot of good reasons. But as time has gone on, I think I kind of appreciate a little bit more the importance of just archiving what you're doing, and in a format that's peer reviewed, that you're subject to criticism, that you're not isolating yourself and insulating yourself from others in the field, because it is really easy to go off into your corner, sit there, do work, think what you've done is the greatest thing that's ever been done, and then not ever like open yourself up for any criticism or any other like contributions from others. And it sort of is safe, or feels safe to do that, but you do end up overlapping with other people when you don't know it. You end up missing stuff in your own work that you should have caught. So I think, there's a lot of reasons that go into it. So one, record your ideas, saves others the trouble of doing the same thing. It gives you a chance to like stake your claim to an area. So if you want to be the expert in that area, or you want to be an expert in that area, you need to somehow contribute to that area, contribute to the common knowledge in that area. And so that's what I mean by staking your claim. Advancing the state of human knowledge, right? To like step back for big picture and what's really the value. You are now, you've gone through all this school, like you go to school for 12 years before you even go to college, and then you go to university and you learn more and more and more, and eventually you get to the point where you can hopefully make an actual contribution, a new contribution. You are now at the very forefront of that field of study, and so this is your chance to document that and actually push something forward. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then, as I said, like subjecting your work to peer review. I guess the most important reason is that in a university or academic setting or research setting, often there's nothing coming out of your work that's like a physical thing. Like if you go work at Sub-Zero, you're making fridges. If you go work at Train, you're making air conditioners. What comes out of this work that we're doing? It is by and large like papers, and so it is the product of what we're doing. So we need to think about that and try to get to a point where we're actually making something, not just doing work for a while and then leaving. So that's the motivation. The tough question is when to write a paper. This is one question that like a lot of people will give you different answers. If you ask me or you ask Greg or anybody else, they'll give you different answers. My view is as follows. I think you should start writing the paper basically when you start doing research. And the reason for that is if you can't explain what you're doing to somebody else, then you don't really know what you're doing. So forcing yourself to sit down and write out in a few sentences, even like, this is the thing I'm trying to do, that is a hugely helpful step for yourself to take, right? It's something that you benefit from the most. So as soon as you get into your research, you have a clear idea of what your project is, that's a good time to start writing. And by writing, I don't mean like you write out the full paper. I mean, you sit down and you just start making an outline, and you force yourself to, as you go along, when you're confused about some topic or you want to just sort of document a step that you took, you force yourself to go back to that working outline and update that little piece. And if it makes sense, if it's consistent with the other things that you've written, that's a good sign. So as soon as you can. Like, to be specific there, I'd say do it before you've made actual research progress, because it'll help frame the research you're going to do. And for sure, do it before you have results, because if you just wait for the results and then you write about it, expecting that everything's going to go well, you're going to be a little bit surprised. So you want to, before you get results, start writing things out, because you'll see immediately gaps in what you're about to say. And then that helps you get a more complete set of results. Right. So that's, I think, the main idea. Use this as a research tool. Don't think of a paper as something you do at the end. Think of it as a helper along the way, a way of organizing your thoughts. It helps you be able to state succinctly what you're doing, what your objectives are. It helps you document the related work. So like what'll sometimes happen is you do all your research, you get to the end of your master's, you say, I'm going to write a paper. And you write the paper, and then you go do the lit review. And then you discover that somebody's done something similar, right? That you don't have much of an opportunity to reshape what you've done at that point. And you're kind of stuck just pulling together scraps to make a new contribution. So document the related literature kind of up front so that you really know where things are in the field. Outline the methodology is a good way of like keeping notes on what you're doing. Be able to state what the results will look like, not necessarily what the results are going to be. You don't know that yet, but at least state, I know that I want to be able to predict the efficiency of this power cycle, or I know that I need to be able to model the response of my system over 1 second time steps for this time window. Right? You kind of get a sense of what the results should look like, and that helps you envision where to go with the research. And the last thing is forcing yourself to explain your work will help you identify weaknesses and next steps that you should take to rectify that. So that all is kind of the motivation and like when to write the paper. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody.